Rocks in my hand, politics on my mind.
All right, welcome back. Episode 92.
Yeah,
Sine Die week.
That's right. Yeah, this has been a tradition here now for the last 3 years. Thank you to the University of South Carolina for allowing us to host this episode. This is our Sine Die Eve episode. We've been doing it now, like I said, past 3 years, and we are here at the Beverage Lab.
Yes.
And this is the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management.
It's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
No pun intended.
But, this sounds like the cool major. This is the cool college major. You know, if you want to get into hospitality, sports management, this is the place to be. So, and they're now brewing their own beer.
Yes. And it is a good beer, I will say.
And so let's go ahead and introduce Scott Taylor.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for the university here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
I'm an associate professor in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management, to make it even more confusing. I'm also the associate director of the Wine and Beverage Institute. You're in, obviously, the Bev Lab. And this has been a few years in the making, wanting to come up with our own brew and figuring out how to get it in cans and get it out to the community. And Steel Hands over in Casey has so graciously agreed to brew this first batch with us. So this is the Garnet Black Lot Lager that you're tasting. It's an amber lager.
Now, was it created by the students?
It was. So last fall, Chef Robbie, who was on last year, I believe,
Yes.
and myself, we taught our first brewing and distribution course. We had 5 students in there. They helped come up with this recipe and a few others. And this was the one that they liked the most and the one that they thought we could get the most traction from. So we started with that. This past semester, my marketing class, beverage marketing, helped launch this brand, Spur City Brewery, and the Garnet Black Lot Lager at an event over at Steel Hands in Casey, April 15th. We had about 300 guests show up just for that one big, awesome event.
Nice.
Still very proud of my kids for getting that thing done.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to increase the tailgating out there.
Now, is this going to be sold? Is the plan to have this sold at Williams-Brice during game days and things like that?
We are working on that. I'm hoping that is figured out before the summer's over. So we're trying to work with Aramark and everybody else on campus. Williams-Brice would love it to be at the Colonial Life baseball stadium.
Yeah,
really
right.
Anywhere we can get it on campus.
Right. SEC can have drinks at games.
That's right.
What, the ACC can't?
I don't think I've ever seen alcohol for sale at a Clemson game.
Oh, wow.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well,
Just means more.
another strike. Yeah. Another strike against Clemson University. Hey, so let's talk about this beer. Like, how does the recipe develop? How does it, you said it was those students who helped develop that with the professor, I'm assuming?
Yep.
And they're working with Steel Hands over and.
So they didn't get a whole lot of work with Steel Hands, unfortunately. The students have brewed the beer. The students this semester who launched it did. They worked very closely with them.
Okay, gotcha.
But so Chef Robbie and I had some ideas around different beers. We pitched them to the students. Students said, let's make something like an amber lager. Think Yingling, right? Something in that vein of 5.5% alcohol.
It's
really
got a
easy
toasty
drinking.
sort of flavor to it, but it's light.
Yeah.
It's still, just like your fan favorite Bud Light,
You can still drink it after mowing the lawn.
Yeah, right.
And we figured it'd be a good tailgate beer. Especially, I think it's going to be good all year round, but especially that fall football season, this is going to be a great thing to have down at the tailgate lots. So students came in, they helped brew this. We're here on Fridays from 9 to 2. It's a long class.
Okay.
Is that long process in brewing?
There's a lot of sitting around. We were talking twiddling your thumbs earlier, and there's a lot of that because you do something and then you got to wait for an hour.
Right.
So there's a lot of work in a little bit of time, then you wait around.
So very similar to the legislature.
It seems like it. Probably similar.
Right.
We're prepping students for all sorts of jobs. So
Yeah, and so tell us about how you develop a beer. I mean, what is sort of the process of, whether it's, and again, I don't even know anything about brewing a beer, but what's that process like? I mean, is it you're toasting things, you're putting things in a vat, adding liquid, letting it ferment, and then you taste it and it's like, oh, this tastes awful. You know what I mean? Like, how many times were y'all going through to get to this? Because this is good beer.
we got lucky. First batch, first time we did this.
No way. Really?
And we're brewing on a 1 barrel system, right? We're brewing a real small system. Steel Hands is brewing
Like a
on-
home brew?
bigger than that. It's in the room next door. I'll show you guys after the podcast. But it's much smaller than what Steel Hands has. right? So we brewed our recipe. We sent them our recipe. They scaled it up.
Oh,
And
okay.
Chef and I noticed one small little tweak, and it's a little bit sweeter, which I'm very happy with, right? But again, you never know when you're brewing from one size to the next what's going to be different. But to answer the question, we really just kind of figured out we wanted to brew something in the vein of an amber lager. So we started looking at recipes. Chef has a software that he uses to type some stuff in. We had grains and hops and whatnot on hand. And so the system kind of helped develop a little bit of that recipe based on what we told it we wanted to do.
Okay.
And then we don't toast anything. We already buy all the grain pre-toasted, which is nice, but we do kind of mill it down, just break it up a little bit. And then it's 35 gallons of hot water, goes from one side to the next. You throw the grain in, you basically make a big batch of oatmeal.
Yeah.
Pull that over to the middle and you let it hang out, start adding your hops. And then at some point, again, it's a couple hours of sitting around boiling stuff, and then at some point you're done, and you move it over to the ferment tank, and then you wait.
Then you let it sit.
You let it sit. You pitch the yeast, and you let it. So really, you don't know what it's going to taste like when you're first done, because there's a whole lot of stuff that can change once the yeast goes in. But there were 2 or 3 batches this fall that we dumped straight down the drain. So it wasn't all perfect. But
What was that old
first one-
commercial? Bitter beer?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so from start to finish, how long does it take to get what we're drinking now?
This one took us about a month, give or take. So again, the 1-day process of doing the actual brewing, getting into the fermenting tank and letting it hang out, and then it's just waiting. So this is a lager. Takes a little bit longer because it ferments at a colder temperature.
Okay.
Yeast likes a colder temperature for a lager, and you want to let it hang out, let it chill.
Yeah.
Clear up a little bit, right? We're going for a clear beer, not a hazy beer with this. And so it took us about a month, six weeks probably before we actually pulled this one off, caked it. And I imagine Steel Hands, same exact thing for them, just on a much larger scale. I brewed in a West Coast IPA today. We'll pull that probably into kegs into June. So it'll be a few weeks, but we'll be able to taste it as it kind of goes.
For folks like Guffey and I, we appreciate the work that you put into this.
Yes.
Because I don't have the patience to wait 45 days for a good beer, and but I will gladly drink this every game day Saturday.
I don't cook because I don't want to waste too much time.
That's fair.
Well, it takes them 10 tries for a hot dog. You know what I mean? But Scott, again, thanks for joining the show. Thanks for hosting, and thanks for supplying this week's tasty beverage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
No filter, no chaser, just straight facts with the flavor. Every episode of Bangle.
All right, welcome back. Second edition. Or second, what?
Segment?
Clip?
Yeah.
Segment? Yeah. It's late.
The beer's
My
flowing,
bad.
man. You know, it's been a long Wednesday. Guffey's about 8 deep.
Still on my first one. Come on now.
And we had the pleasure of Catherine
Wiggins.
You're the Vice Dean here
Vice Dean,
at
yes.
the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow, that is a mouthful, man. I will get it eventually.
I hope
Without
because
reading
I don't
off the
plan
cue
on
card.
trying to read.
So-
HRSM is what we call the experience industries.
Okay.
So we've got like the hotel and tourism management, we've got retail and fashion merchandising, and then we have sport and entertainment management. So at the end of the day, it's where you spend your discretionary income, that discretionary dollar, and we're training our students to be in management in those different fields and to create those magical experiences for patrons.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the growing, the growth that our state has seen over the last, 5-10 years,
Number one right now.
it's exponential right now.
Yeah.
And it does seem like restaurants are a big part of, the character of our communities. I know, just speaking in Rock Hill, I know Charleston has sort of made a name for itself as a Southern food city that rivals, say, a New Orleans or some other ones like that. And I mean, and this is a lot of where some of the folks come out of.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about the students who are coming in here. What are they? Where are they landing up as this TV screen's talking about the graduates?
Our students really have, the world is sort of their oyster when they graduate. So we have a lot of students that, especially in the retailing industry, are really interested in fashion, luxury fashion. They want to move on into careers or they want to go into boutiques, designing. We have asset management in terms of, allocation, where space planning, all that kind of good stuff. Sport and entertainment management. You think athletic departments.
I seen one of the students on here is working for the Penguins.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
NHL.
Yeah, any kind of minor leagues, major leagues.
Oh, wow.
We have a partnership. Our sport and entertainment management program was actually named by David and Nicole Tepper, who own the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
So we have a partnership.
Very familiar with them in Rock Hill.
Yes. Good or bad, we are so excited.
Look, they are great
philanthropists. Really,
philanthropists
have them,
within the community. I will
Yes,
say
they
that.
are. Even though they did not, that experiment that was the training facility didn't work out for Rock Hill, the Tepper family has still supported
Miracle Park for one.
great causes like
Yes.
Miracle Park and a lot of others. So
And they've given a lot of our students a lot of great opportunities with
That's awesome.
scholarships, working
Yeah.
for, you have 2 professional sports franchises within an hour and a half away. So being able to work for the FC, the Panthers, and then, with hotels, restaurants, tourism, the travel industry is booming. Tourism.
Unless you're Spirit Airlines.
Yeah, that's true. But think about golf tourism. Think about a golf tournament.
Yeah, right.
And so we have 600 students that work the Masters Golf Tournament every single year. We have students that work the Ryder Cup. We have students that get to go to the Super Bowl. They get to go to the Grammys. And so what we say, it's really about the experiences. Imagine being in college and
Right.
getting to go work at
Yeah.
Augusta National.
oh my Lord,
It's
Yeah.
one of the things that you never should skimp money on an experience because it's a memory that you'll.
Oh, right.
versus blowing a bunch of money on other things. But
Yeah, correct.
To be in college and to actually have these experiences too.
I tell you what, maybe in the off session we might.
I
have
hear
to-
more about his college than I hear about his after college days, and he's been out for like 30 years.
We might have to go back to school, Guffey. This might be the place to be.
I mean, we have classes where you get to taste beer, you get to taste wine.
It'd be like the Rodney Dangerfield episode
That's
or
what I'm
movie.
saying.
We have a class
we
taught
go
by Don
volunteer
Staley.
in Augusta every spring with Bill Hickson.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, how long has this school been here? And do you see a growing population of students coming? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
about that, the growth of this college.
So the college itself has been around since 1962 in terms of the degree programs.
Okay.
And so we have had, and those have evolved over time. So we had hotel and tourism administration, we had sport administration, so different programs. It was 25 years ago, we were just finished celebrating our 25th anniversary of the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management, where a previous dean had the foresight to put all of that under one umbrella.
Okay.
Which is not typical in higher education. So a lot of times you'll see sport management housed in a college of business. You'll
Right.
see retail and fashion merchandising within textiles or in other areas. And so it's neat to be able to put together all of those ecosystems into one particular college. And we
Right.
are strong. Enrollment growth is very strong. We're 4th largest undergrad on this
Wow.
campus.
Really?
Yep. We hope to get to about 3,000 students by 2030,
Just in this college?
just in this college.
Wow.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Catherine, thanks for joining the show.
absolutely.
Thanks for hosting.
Of course.
As always, I mean, as a proud alum, I mean, I know my partner here
I
is
gave a
Clemson
Spurs up, right?
fan. Hey, I think we're
Is that what it is? I got to do it
think
this
we're
way,
slow-
not that way.
We're turning him.
We
We're turning
are
him.
slowly bringing him over.
I root for the Gamecocks whenever I go to an event, as
Yeah.
long as they're not playing Clemson.
I know now.
I can't.
That's
I'm
what
not
saying.
paying to get
We're
this
slowly-
tiger tattoo erased.
We can add just a spur
Yeah,
to
that's
it.
right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want to go Cox tattoo.
The Gamecocks are a close second in Guffey's heart. So, but Catherine Wiggins, Vice Dean of the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties.
All right. Welcome back to our third segment. Traditionally, we have always had the Speaker of the House come in. Sine Die Eve, we're all worn out. How many bills did you say that we got through today?
I think we got close to 54 bills, including Senate amendments.
Wow.
We cleared the calendar. I don't know. I was
Yeah,
talking
right.
to Shane Massey on the way over here about what was going on in the Senate, and I think we don't have many bills left, and whatever y'all send us over in the Senate is going to be what we do tomorrow. So I don't know how long we're going to be. I don't know if we're going to make 5 o'clock. Maybe
Hopefully one of them is Shazam tomorrow.
Well, or maybe we just come in at noon, you know?
Depends on how much beers you drink. You may come in noon anyway.
That's right. Mr. Speaker, thank you again for coming in to the Sine Die episode. It means a lot to us. I mean, you've been helping us out as freshman members. When we started this was our communication tool to our constituents. Now it seems like we're communicating to the lobby and members of some of the House and the Senate. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. Enjoy your podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
He's one of the 2 listeners.
That's right. So we always ask you on this episode, what are some of the accomplishments that sort of make you proud of the work we've done this session? Is there
And we get a 2-year session.
Yeah, I mean, you have a 2-year session. I have to pull out all my whole list. You forget about all this stuff.
Yeah, right.
But in all sincerity, you look at what we've done over the years, over the last 2 years, but also the last 4 years. I met with my chairman this morning. We had a last breakfast that we do
Right.
where we get together, and I told them, you ought to be proud of what you have done. I mean, you look at the accomplishments we've had over the past 4 years. Your class came in, Senator Lieber was with y'all too, came in, and I really think we've changed the course of South Carolina with some of the things that we have done. And I think I've heard y'all mention, especially you say thinking you were coming into a bunch of
Swamp.
Yeah.
and you realize that we actually get things done. And look at the statistics of South Carolina; they speak for themselves. I mean, fastest growing state by population. That brings a lot of challenges. But we've been we had the highest real growth of GDP,
Right.
growth of real GDP. We were like the number 5 state in increasing income, median annual income for everyone. And then we were one of 6 states last year where the unemployment rate went down rather than went up. And we look at here, and you're going to see again that our revenue is going to trend up by the end of the year. We have had a lot of revenue growth, but we've had a lot of people moving in here, and you hear this all the time of we got to. Our budget is growing so fast, but look at how South Carolina is growing.
Yeah.
And you have to take care of the needs of South Carolina in order to be able to provide a good quality of life to our citizens. Man, I wish everyone kind of would take a pause and we could kind of have a moratorium on growth in South Carolina.
Let's do the Forrest Gump. Seats taken.
I know. It is, and so you hate it, but at the end of the day, what I think we have been doing over the past 4 years is we work better with the Senate than I think we ever have, and we coordinate and work together. And that's because most of the senators now are been House members.
That's right. That is vitally important experience.
That's right. And so they make better senators. We train them and send them on over. So that's I say that.
That's right. And to your point about the state's growth, infrastructure, right, is so important to our state. Folks moving here, that's roads, airports, bridges, all of those things. And that's why I thought this DOT modernization ad hoc that you formed was well worth the work. And,
It was a lot of work.
and commending the chair ladies for doing that. Thanks a lot to Representative Brewer, and a lot of work that got put into that, and that was good forethought on leadership's part.
Well, and I know we passed the Senate bill, but it
Right.
originated in the House. I mean, we came up with the idea. We realized that we were behind other states. And when you go to North Carolina, y'all live on the border, and you see the express lanes in North Carolina, and we don't have those in South Carolina. We have traffic jam. and
now we have choice lanes.
Now we have choice lanes.
Right.
And so, there were things that you had to do. You realize by that process, you realize how many regulations we had at DOT. And after we pointed it out to them, they voluntarily reduced a third of their regulations on their own.
Yep.
And we did that, and the NEPA is going to be a real big issue, taking it out of the federal government and letting the states make those permitting decisions, I think is going to be tremendous. And then having those choice lanes and doing these public-private partnerships. And, it was interesting to watch the critics of the bill say public-private partnerships, we're selling our roads, we're not going to be responsible, people are going to get gouged. But once they learned what the public-private partnerships were, then they all mysteriously supported it.
Imagine that. You actually get the real facts and don't depend on social media for those. And
imagine
Mr.
people
Speaker,
that tout freedom, championing communism.
but-
the government can do it better.
Yeah, and to your point, we've said this before on the podcast. I do feel a little bit like the House went around the state, put in all the effort and all the work, and then the Senate came and sucker punched us, stole our homework, and then put a S three-digit number. Looking at you, Senator Lieber, and then it's all of a sudden, hey, it's our idea. But it's a healthy competition between.
Now,
the
I will
chambers.
say, whenever we first got the committee, you addressed the committee, you laid it out, you said nothing's off the table. We're going to do what's best for South Carolina. This is the direction we want to go.
Yeah.
And I think we really dug into it heavily.
Absolutely, and the Senate did their due diligence too. They came to the party a little late, but as my grandmother always said, emulation is the highest form of flattery, and so and I think that's what we take it. But there's no pride in authorship, and with me, I just, if we can get good bills done, I really don't care who gets the credit. It's about getting the work done,
Right?
And I think that's the most important thing. And what I can't remember, Ronald Reagan or someone said that when you don't care about who gets the credit, then you can really find success, and and that's what we've done here. And again, you talk about the modern transportation modernization bill. You also need to look at what else we've done. I still say this income tax bill. People want to say that's the worst bill ever, and I heard someone say on the floor today, we raise people's taxes. That bill right there decoupled us from the federal tax code. We now own what our tax policy is going to be in South Carolina. For the last 50 years or however long it's been, Washington, D.C. decided our tax policy. And I don't think they liked Washington, D.C. when Biden was there and we were having to adopt all his tax policies. So, again, we're going to see, we have got a sustainable path down.
Right.
We are now below Georgia in our income tax, and that is a huge, huge spot. We were at, when y'all came in office with us, we were at 7%.
Yep.
We are now at 5.29%, below Georgia, and we will again, with our growth in our budget, we will continue that path down. And other states who have reduced their income taxes or quote are going to eliminate them, you know what they've done? Raised other taxes. What have we done in South Carolina? We do not raise taxes.
Great point.
We are going to do this on growth, and people will say, well, that's, you didn't really, these are just incremental or small changes, but we're not raising other people's taxes. We're not giving state property taxes.
Right, we weren't doing
raising,
offsets.
We're not raising income tax, sales tax, and we're not raising gas taxes like they did in Louisiana. We're going to live off our growth. And you look at what our growth is, every year we put money that from the budget that comes in, it goes to the HEX fund. That is the fund that deals with the property, taking the school millage off of the primary homeowners. We also have the Homestead Act that we pay. That's about $800 million right off the top, right from there that we pay, and then we do the income tax every year. So, we give away probably well over $1.5 billion in tax cuts before we decide to spend $1 of our tax money.
Well, that was one of the things coming in as a freshman that really, it took me a minute to figure out. It was like, okay, even if we had a 100% tax cut, if our revenue goes up, our budget's going to go up because it has to be written to where we are giving the money back through the budget.
Oh, right.
And I was like, this doesn't.
And then we were getting knocked over the head. We gave back $600 million, and they would still count that as a spend.
But the budget raised by $600 million. It's like, so it was a break even then.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are you talking about?
And don't forget about the reserve fund. I mean,
Yeah.
Capital Reserve Fund and General Reserve Fund, 8% fully funded, and we've done that every year, and we have not done that. And also, we have the lowest bond debt in the history of South Carolina. We don't borrow money.
Right.
And, we live within our means. And so those are things that people forget when they talk about how we're fiscally irresponsible in South Carolina. And, you can't spin it on social media in a 3-word post, but at the end of the day, I think we budget prudently, and we take care of the needs of South Carolina, and we have a growing economy. And you mentioned infrastructure. I mean, infrastructure, like you saw last week when we were doing the budget, it includes airports. It includes water, sewer. It includes broadband. It includes so many natural gas, so many things that makes the state great. I mean, you look at what the natural gas situation before we did the energy modernization a year ago. Horry County, which has all these restaurants, couldn't open new restaurants because the gas lines weren't there. And guess what happened? Kinder Morgan announced that they're coming to South Carolina and building a brand new gas line.
Yeah.
That's huge for the prosperity of South Carolina.
100%. And those are the basic things that government has to get right? The DOT bill, the energy bill, those lowering taxes where we can. Those are the fundamental things that allow you to do great things. But if you don't get those little basic things right, you can't do great things.
It's like building anything. It all starts with your foundation and what you're putting in. And we're often talking about leading for the next generation. A lot of these things that we're doing were things that just simply weren't done or, didn't have the ability to move this stuff. And I feel like that ever since we've come in as freshmen at least, since you've become speaker, we're moving these things.
Because you've been speaker
same amount of time
on day one when we were freshmen, and
tomorrow marks 4 years.
I know, man. And I've always enjoyed, Mr. Speaker, you're very approachable, and a lot of times you'll come off, from the die and come down. And remember, he came over and was like, "What's this bill?" And he started talking a little trash to us.
Yeah.
He was like, "If I was a freshman, I wouldn't vote for this."
No, I wouldn't. I didn't.
And you and I go red, and the speaker's like, "Okay, I got to get out of here. Y'all are gonna get me in trouble." And I always enjoyed.
But that earned respect.
That's what I mean. I always enjoyed you being able to reveal, just your experiences as a freshman, and you being able to remember, like, you know what, guys, look, y'all might be voting against the primary sponsor, but I used to be just like y'all.
Yeah.
That relatability. I always just enjoyed. I mean, you're a sage old veteran now, but once you were.
He's like, don't call me old.
But I did have fun with the speakers before. And David Wilkins did not understand me. Still doesn't understand me. I got a birthday cake. If you walk in my office, there's a birthday cake, and it's got David Wilkins' head on it. And so when we were up at probably 4 or 5 years, and they called me up. It was my birthday, and that was when we went to June in session. And so I walked up, and they had Publix cake with it. They got Publix to put a picture of David Wilkins on the cake. So he was up there, his head turned red. He got so mad about it.
Oh, boy.
You know what I did enjoy today?
What's that?
Bubba brought back a nickname.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but it was like
I cut him loose. I told him the last 2 days you go ahead and call nicknames. And so,
yeah, and you couldn't have been a better nickname than what he gave Stephen Frank.
And so,
Stonewall.
And we can't. We'd be remiss with not acknowledging the service that Bubba Cromer has not only given to the chamber but also the state. He did serve as a former member of the House, the last truly independent, right? He
was,
and he then went up on the desk.
He's reading clerk. He's been reading clerk since I was there, so he must have been elected before me, and that had to be in the 1990s. And Bubba has got a great sense of humor.
Oh, he does.
And
especially on April Fools.
Yeah, April Fools. don't. If someone gives you a message, but I make sure that no one forewarns the freshmen because they fall for it every time. So they have to call My Remains at the Dunbar Funeral Home every week. So I've seen that play out about 100 times now. And, but he's been a great friend. He's been a great person to the body. And in times of need, you'll learn that Bubba is always there for you.
Yep.
And Bubba he cares about you. And he's been able to bridge. More partisan our body may become, he's still able to bridge and be friends and be friendly with those people. And that's an admirable trait for him. He's going to be missed, Sometimes he can get frustrating. Try to pick up the gavel and hit him in the head.
A few times today, the speaker was like, Bubba, hit the mic.
But like you talked about nicknames, I mean, it just how quick it was something with J. Kill Martin, and he said, Representative Kill J. Martin. I'm like, Bubba.
Yes.
Jay thought it was funny, so
Yeah.
Good. But that speaks to his relationships. He's time invested.
Respected.
And that was one of the first things that I really admired about Bubba as a freshman. When we got elected through our primary, I don't think I had a general, so I already started getting Christmas calendars and welcome to the house, those types of things, and I didn't even know who Bubba was.
Yeah.
And then when we get in as freshmen, he invites us over and has just a freshman class type
The poster
of
hanging on the wall.
reception, and that's when we started making fun of Lieber, like on day one. You know what I mean? And next segment. And so anyway, let's talk a little bit about the rest of session. I mean, any other? I know we got the RAINS Act, right?
RAINS Act is coming back.
DUI.
Or we're sending it back. DUI reform.
Yep. Stiffening DUI penalties is good.
Shazam, of
Yep.
course. I'm still stuck on that one.
And I do know judiciary. I tell you what, judiciary does a lot of work. A lot of work that we deal with in
Weston
the House
Newton,
comes
I don't know
out
how
of-
he keeps us stressed out.
he doesn't. He chews like crazy on the nicotine gum.
But and so that speaking of the hard work that judiciary has done, I know they passed out a med mal. I don't know if we're going to get that done or not.
It looks like it was did not get second reading in the Senate. So Senator Massey had some different thoughts on that bill. We put it on the Senate appointment bill that they had over there. So it's on life support, but likelihood is that's not going to happen, and that's a real shame. I mean, again, I've done a lot of medical malpractice defense work over the years in my capacity as an attorney, but I've seen these verdicts get out of control, and look. For a for-profit hospital, y'all got one in Rock Hill. It's a little bit of a different story than a non-profit hospital. Non-profit hospitals are really the backbones of the community, and I know they're growing and they're getting bigger, but at the end of the day, they can't sustain $20 million verdicts that are occurring right now.
Right.
And, we really need to, and there's caps on charitable hospitals and non-profit hospitals, and for some reasons, they're working around the caps, and that's just not good, and I really would like to see that get to the finish line and to be able to do it. And I think the plaintiffs bar and the defense bar and the hospital association worked it all out,
right?
And then now we got to know, and that's very disappointing. And that's going to be again a priority when we return to Columbia. Yep. And some hospitals are going to feel the pinch of us failing to act this year, and there's real consequences to it. But again, there's some consequences. We've been through liquor liability, and that's still not resolving itself. I blame a lot of this on the insurance companies. I mean, I do think the insurance companies are jacking up rates, and they're in a market where there's no competition. And I saw this with MedMal years ago. We created something called the JUA, and that was a state-backed corporation. Medical malpractice defense carrier, and what they did is they had a premium tax on other policies and made sure that paid the JUA, and the JUA was the only medical malpractice carrier in the state for years, 10 plus years, and then the market shook loose. It shook the market loose, and people came in and said, let's come into South Carolina, and now JUA is really non-existent. They're the sure of last resort.
Right.
And that would have been, in my opinion, a big thing, a big plus for us with liquor liability. Massachusetts and other states, I'm not trying to copy Massachusetts, but other states do that. And, we got to help those bars and restaurants. But when we put it up, we went in committee, people started calling us communists and saying...
Is that what I called Obamacare for bars?
Yeah. It probably did.
Sorry.
But these guys are getting creamed over there. And, there's a bill I think the Senate sent to us to reduce the liquor liability. And quite honestly, I mean, you know, it's you at your own peril that you don't buy insurance, but people can't afford it, and these bars and restaurants have got to have relief, and they're sold on, you know, fixing joint and several will resolve that. Fixing joint and several is not going to lower rates this year, next year, or any other year, because it takes, you know, it takes effect when the act is signed. And so lawsuits matriculate. It takes about 2 years to get into a lawsuit. So you really don't see any savings by having some of that there. So, you know, but at the end of the day, we need to take a look at our tort laws, and we need to make sure that we're able to have and track businesses here. And there are some things we need to do, but, you know, we talked about this before. I think the worst thing you do is put it all in one bill and wrap it up, because it just gets to be a mess.
It'll fall under its own weight. And you know, to the med-mal conversation, it's my understanding that it was sort of the raising of the caps that the Senate had some indigestion about. I didn't think the clarifying of what an occurrence is, I thought everyone agreed with. So it's unfortunate that didn't get done.
But they raised the caps too in their omnibus bill. But then when the caps came back over to them, they didn't like it. So
We disagree a lot. We disagree with one another.
So Sarah Lieber's piping in. Good news is he doesn't have a microphone.
But I thought another good thing was the stiffing of the DUI. Like, you know, that doesn't fall under, say, a tort reform bill or whatever, but I do think sending the message, especially to repeat DUI offenders, that, you know, we're stiffening the penalties, stiffening the, you know, if you're going to find somebody for the first time offense, we've stiffened those. I think that sends a clear message to where our insurance carriers who want to come into this market can accurately price the risk.
Yeah, and
So-
I mean, I know we both did, but talking about being harsh on crime, and that, you know, we did the bond reform bill as well, you know, trying to ensure that we are keeping criminals locked up or not letting them out too soon.
Yep,
Well,
for sure.
and look, I mean, you know, our first year we did bond reform, and we did fentanyl trafficking. We did both of those things.
Yeah.
Huge. We did fentanyl-induced homicide last year.
Yep.
I mean, we did organized retail crime. I mean, where we have come with our law and order has been tremendous. And not only with that, we support our local law enforcement and our state law enforcement with the budget every year. And, and I'll never forget, I was chairman of Ways and Means, and we were losing police officers post-pandemic, George Floyd, where police were under attack and that they were, you know, needed to reform police and how they do things. And you know, in the defund police era, and you know, South Carolina, we made a pivot. Rather than defunding the police, we funded the police.
That's
and
right.
we decided that there's only one way we're going to keep the police, and we commissioned a salary study. DOA did that, brought it back to us, and it changed the whole trajectory of law enforcement in South Carolina. These guys were making probably half of what they make now,
Right.
and they deserve more than what they're getting paid right now. And that's, you know, and that's the same thing we did with the teachers. And I mean, you look where we have brought our salaries of our law enforcement officers, our teachers, and state employees. I mean,
100%.
you know, we were just giving state employees zero increases for about 10 years, and then, you know, we are trying to give them increases every year because inflation's high, and we got to take care of people who take care of our state.
Yep. So before we let you out of here, there has been a major conversation when it comes to reapportionment, redrawing congressional lines over the past. I know you've been dealing with it much longer than we have been dealing with it, you know, in the House. But just let's talk about let's go through some of that stuff. You know, this looks like the pendulum swing is now coming to South Carolina. You know, when you see over the last 10 years, North Carolina, Florida, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Maryland,
Well, that court
and
ruling.
other states have went and redrew their lines to benefit the Democratic Party of about 14 to 15 seats over the last 10 years. Now that Calais has come out, that's a different interpretation traditionally of what the courts have said over the last 30 or 40 years when it comes to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Mm-hmm. And so that has now begged the question, what are we going to do here in South Carolina?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I'm going to give kudos because it's, you know, what we have done in the past for South Carolina has also been historic. I mean, you know, we were ahead of the curve. And when we did congressional reapportionment, we made sure that we made the first congressional district, the Low Country District, a solid Republican seat, where before it was being represented by a Democrat, and it was purple at best.
Yes.
And I think we did a good job of doing that, and kudos goes to Senator Massey and to Speaker Lucas, because they really were the ones that were leading that charge to make those changes to it. So
I think we were just one of the first states.
we really
really
were, and
add a seat.
And Calais has changed the dynamics, and the White House has called and has asked us to take a look. The governor has now asked us to take a look, and when you look at it, what rings home to me sometimes is when you say you look in Massachusetts or you look in some of those states and up north, the blue states, they have 0 Republicans.
Yes.
So but it's
Even though 40% plus of their population might be
correct.
Republican.
And so it is, you fight fire with fire sometimes, but again, I'm not someone that you overrun and drown out the people who don't think like us or are not in our same
Right.
party. I think they deserve respect, and Jim Clyburn has served our state for a long, long time, and he's been very successful at it. But at the end of the day, we are in a hyper-partisan environment, and unfortunately, this case has given some clarity to the constitutional issues and has said it's okay to draw a partisan 7-0 map. And and I think that's the will of the General Assembly, and that's where we're going to have to go with this. And if the shoe was on the other foot, do you think that the Democrats would say no? We're going to keep one for the Republicans.
Oh, I think. That's rhetorical. My bad.
Yeah. so and we're going to do this. So I expect that either we're going to have a Sine Die resolution tomorrow that will say that we will come back for reapportionment, or alternatively, the governor will call us back to session, and we will go back and we will deal with redistricting in the House. As you know, we started this process earlier, and the bill will be read on the calendar tomorrow, and so I anticipate that the House will likely come back on Friday. And we will start our work on this reapportionment and complete
Can we
that.
do it at noon?
Hey, look, there's no taxes on overtime, Guffey, so we're good.
That's tips. That's tips.
You forgot that the Senate did not conform to the big beautiful bill,
Oh.
and so thanks to the Senate, we have to pay. You don't have to pay taxes on tips or overtime for the federal taxes, but in South Carolina you do.
I got to send a thank you to the whole Senate chamber. Just making our lives so much easier.
Hey, I will say, I used to pick on Heath all the time about being over at the Senate, but I've spent a lot more time at the Senate this year trying to build relationships and trying to work on things.
Yeah.
And it is helpful to know, where the speed bumps are going to come from, and to actually try to understand. And ultimately, at the end of the day, as much as I joke around and everything else, I think that we have serious lawmakers in both chambers that simply want to do what's best for South Carolina.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just making sure we all are operating off the same information.
100%. And yes, our group of friends always used to make fun of me that I'm never in my seat. I'm always over in the Senate, And
Now, the thing is I would go to smoke a cigarette, take me 10 minutes, come back, and then he's like, okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes. He comes back, he's already got a bill worked out with the senator. I'm like, man.
Well, and I'll say this, a lot of like Senator Lieber and a number of people, were in our body. They became friends of ours.
Senator Elliott,
and
Tedder.
We really got a lot of Senator Ott. I mean, all these people we've been in the House, worked with, and we know personally. But also, I'll say this, the leadership is over there is solid, and these guys are good people. I mean, and that's what you want is good, honest people in leadership positions, and they are. And I've formed a good relationship with President We meet weekly, or at least bi-weekly. We've always done that for the last 2 years to to talk about what we're doing with
That's great.
in chambers, what we can do, what your priorities are, and line the priorities. And, you know, at the beginning of the year, or even in December, we met, and, you know, Senator Massey said, you know, what's y'all's priorities and what's our priorities? And it was, you know, obviously getting the the transportation modernization bill going, but
Right.
they said we're going to lead off with DUI, and we said we're going to lead off with, I can't remember what we led off, and so we timed it where we weren't duplicating one another.
Right.
And I think that's very, very important, and it's just communicating with each other. And when you don't communicate, then you assume the worst.
And it's something to build on, right?
Right.
I mean, you've been speaker now for the last 2 terms. Hopefully, if we all get reelected in November, you're going to be our speaker again. And so you developing those leadership relationships across in the other chambers, I think, pivotal for the success, not just of our, you know, legislation, but delivering results for South Carolina.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you ought to govern. You got to govern by working with people, and you know, we see absolutists, and what do they get?
Yeah.
Nothing. And
Yep.
those who want to try to work together, do work, and that's the way you do it. And you know, and again, you know, like we worked with Jordan Pace, who's the leader of the Freedom Caucus this week on a couple issues, and you know, and look, you always can find common ground, and that's what you need to do. You got to be able to talk to one another. If you don't talk to one another, then can't be successful.
Yeah, totally agree.
I've been trying to make some inroads there where I've had some
personal
bad
growth?
blood.
Little personal
Yeah, I
growth?
mean, my desk mate is Thomas Beach, so it was,
and tell the 2 listeners where that started. How did that? And what I mean is, on day 1 of this term,
day 1 of this term, we have to pick out our seats within the chamber, and everything's like drawn out of the bucket, and then the county has to pick the delegation.
yes,
Well, whenever it come down to it, me and Heath, we wanted to make sure that the freshmen were able to sit together with Tommy and Randy,
our veterans,
our veterans, by them.
we didn't want to leave the freshmen out on an island.
Right. But because of the way that the Freedom Caucus had chosen their seats, it kind of split up where not all delegations could be together, and we were next to last.
Yeah.
So the only seats that were available whenever it come time for me to pick was one in front of RJ, which I stated I'm not sitting near a pedophile, and the other one was directly beside of Thomas Beach, to which he said, I'd prefer you not to sit here. And I said, well, tough shit, sugar tits. That's not the way this works. and he didn't talk for 4 months.
Yeah.
But we finally kind of broke through. And it's fun now because even the other day he posted a social media post, and it was talking about $300 million and talking about budget and everything else. And I looked at him and I said, look, watch this, Thomas. And I copied his picture. I copied his text. And I went around and I just changed everything. So instead of saying $300 million, I said, this year I worked hard to secure $9 million for York County. And I listed out all the things. And then I said, and as he said, we only had 60 minutes to review. I was like, those of us who really wanted to work for our communities been working on this for 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, right.
And we were meeting with Ways and Means, and we were discussing this.
Yep.
And we were aware of what's coming up.
Yep. And
So-
then you post it.
Yeah.
And start getting
and
a
he's
bunch
like,
of likes.
oh, I might like that.
Well, I'll never forget. I have to say this: it's interesting to watch from the podium what's going on, and I remember that you were looking for seats, y'all couldn't find seats. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they're all filled up, and so all of a sudden someone says this seat's there, and you look, and say, oh hell no, I ain't sitting next to him. And it was RJ.
I'm not
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there a pedophile.
Well, you know,
I'm good.
and talking about my desk mate, Paul Wickensheimer out of the Greenville area, he was probably thinking the same thing about me. You know, he was
Yeah.
like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to sit next to this guy. I don't know this guy. But then once he realized that I'm never in my seat, he was like, oh, okay, this guy will be a good neighbor, you know?
It's been good, and it's actually helped. I don't want to say make inroads, but at least have conversations. Just like today, as we're going through things.
Well, I
I
think-
asked Thomas, and I said, "Hey, are there any bills that you've got issues with?" And he brought up about the recess, and
Oh,
I was
right.
like, "Okay." I was like, "Let me give you my experience." As I talk to teens and I talk to kids about mental health, in order to change an emotion, you got to create motion.
Yeah.
So therefore, a lot of times that can be done in recess.
Yeah, exactly. And proximity breeds empathy, right?
Yes.
So it's hard to call somebody an asshole, you know, when you're 2 feet
Oh,
away.
no, but he understood it.
It's
It's
easy to
building
call
that
an
trust
asshole
back.
from 80 feet away.
Yeah.
So, well, Mr. Speaker,
thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for your leadership for another session.
yeah,
All
100%.
right, well, we got to get reelected, and maybe I can do it one more time.
Yes, sir.
At least one more time.
Well, at least one more time.
But thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
y'all.
Politics in the pint glass, stir it up loud. Pints in my hand, politics on my
All right, welcome back. Final segment of the Sine Die Eve episode, and wanted to have back on hijacked Brandon Cox because look, we had the Robert Smalls dedication this morning.
And a historic day.
It
Really
truly
was.
was, and I just wanted to reflect on the big deal this is, right, and how it started, and so I wanted to recognize Brandon Cox. Look, friend. You know, a lot of times with men in friend groups, all we do is criticize and knock each other down, right? And so you're probably going to think this is a joke or some prank that we're lifting you up. And so, but I just wanted to talk about how this came to fruition and what started as an idea, right? Just like Miracle Park in Rock Hill, it started as an idea amongst 3 people, and it started spreading. And so I wanted to talk about this idea that you had from a conversation that you and I started talking about the portraits on the wall, right? And that sort of stirred something in you.
That was
And-
our whole freshman year whenever we walked in.
Yep.
And so, I mean, just talk about that. Talk about the process of inception, inspiration to what today means. I mean, not just I do want to give your personal story, right? But then what it means for the state.
That's what's most important, what it
Yeah.
means for the state. So this started off before we were even elected. So when I filed to run, there was no opposition in the primary or the general. So I started doing more research into our state's history and political parties and how they were formed and who formed them, and came across this guy named Robert Smalls. And very perplexed by his background and what he had done, and learned that he actually served in the State House, the State Senate, and in Congress.
Right.
I was like, wow, this is a pretty compelling story. And then 4 of us get together our freshman year, and we're hanging out, and we're talking about doing things. And I'd mentioned, I think we should do something about this and maybe find some way to recognize, because after we had been there for a while,
Yeah.
we had noticed that there was not a true reflection of the entire state's history.
Well, and I think in the God wink moment, we jumped in with that kindergarten class.
Yes.
That was touring, or not kindergarten,
Yeah.
elementary school.
But we've told the story. That's right.
Yeah, touring. And just one little girl of color just said, why aren't there more people that look like me?
Right.
And it was like everything that you're thinking, you're
Yeah.
like, wow,
And
this
so-
is why it is important.
Right.
And-
And so we talk about moving portraits around, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how do we comply with the heritage law, but how do we make this place reflect us, right? And the state as a whole. And I remember us having that conversation, and this guy comes up to me, goes, hey, you know who Robert Smalls is? I got an idea. And I said, I'm a history major, man. Yes, I know who Robert Smalls is. But I guarantee you, most folks do not.
Correct.
I never
And
heard
that's
of
what
him
you found, right?
Yeah.
until the
correct.
book.
Even folks from Charleston.
Right. Now Buford, a little different,
Yeah.
because that's where he hails from. But it was just such a culmination today for me, and that's why I chose not to sit or stand behind with all of our colleagues in the Senate and in the House, because I wanted to get on the other side of it, and just
Witness it.
be able to witness that history of you are literally seeing the manifestation of something that inspired this gentleman, and then he started talking to others, and it just snowballed into a lot of hard work, and you had to build consensus. You had to get that going, even though it meant knocking a few of us down on the sponsor list.
That is a true statement. You were number 2 on the sponsor list, but in the effort to get it done,
Yeah.
I had to move some things around.
Look, and that happens every time with legislation.
That's right.
You got to make judgment calls.
Yeah.
For the success, the greater good.
Completely
Right.
correct.
And so, what was your feelings this morning? I mean, because I was like,
You had your mom and your wife there.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
was
know
just
it's emotional.
really proud of you, man, and I really appreciated your humbleness. He just goes up there and thanks everybody, and then just stage left, and
reminded me of something probably I would do. You know what I mean? Just low key.
I would have held a press conference.
I know you would.
Lunch pail, blue collar, the shortest speech. You know what I mean? And so, man, I just wanted to highlight your efforts, not just yours, but the team and the crew that you built to get that out of the House. Then you had to go over to the Senate, and just again, a lot of work went into this thing, and just wanted to take this time to say appreciate you. Very proud of our friend Brandon Cox. Seriously, man. I mean, you started something that now culminates in Robert Smalls.
You will have something that sits on the Capitol grounds that you started 100 years from now.
We did this, and that's what I want everyone to know. I just happen to be a vessel. And
But it takes the person to fight for it, though.
Yeah, I agree. But, man, that's just awesome that, here in a few years, we'll raise the money.
Yes.
We'll put the statue there, and every time you walk on the State House grounds, that's the twinkle in your eye. Like, that's the physical manifestation of your impact on this place. And I'm not saying you, because you're not going to take all the credit, but I am going to give you the credit of being inspired enough and courageous enough to start having these conversations, because we saw a challenge, and like, man, heritage, we can't mess with stuff. And then he came back the very couple days later. It was like, I got it.
Got a solution.
And that's what I really appreciate about this guy was I was like, all right, this is a guy I can hang with. He's not focused on the barriers and the problems.
No.
He's you know what? There's another way to skin this.
Give me solutions.
Yeah. And,
That's why he frustrates me. I'm like, just listen to my problems, Cox.
But I just wanted to take a few minutes, man, to acknowledge, again, the hard work that you put into all this. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It is an honor to have been a part of this, and there's still more to go. I would say and end on this with my comments is I'm extremely proud of the state of South Carolina. The General Assembly, not one person voted against this monument.
Right.
And I couldn't be more proud of the state right now.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially in the
Just
last...
to think where we were in the past 30 years.
And think about where we've been the last 3 weeks when it comes to the floor debate. And,
Yeah.
And this is Sine Die Eve. This is the day before we finish. And
that'll be the only African American statue on the grounds.
yeah. But to have that moment this morning to bring folks back together
Yeah.
after some of the divisive conversations we've been having,
Yeah.
where it comes to reapportionment or where it comes to, and it's just, I think it's vitally important that folks see that, yes, we have our differences, but we can always come together for sort of those big things that South Carolina stands for.
I was kind of shocked whenever the governor said that they had to put the Robert Smalls painting on an easel
Yes.
Right, because they
outside.
couldn't hang it.
Can't hang it.
That's
Right.
how historic that building is. That I serve on the State House Committee, which does not convene. It's not on the website, and it's the committee that will decide ultimately what is done there. And it's a very slow, deliberative process, and it's a good thing because we don't want the next person that comes in wants to hang
Political
something up.
whims.
Exactly. We can't hang curtains in our office. Did you know that?
I hung a Kanye West flag in my office.
If you have a window, you can't hang curtains.
Yeah, Guffey ain't got no window.
It says, "Don't tread on ye," very proudly.
No, today was a very, very awesome day, and it feels like, a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of working with a lot of people, and I really got to give a shout out to the Department of Admin, Mike Sheely, Katie Phillips. And like I said this morning, can you imagine 170 members of the General Assembly trying to do this? It would still be on a napkin somewhere. And I'm not saying we're inept.
I concur.
I'm not saying we're incapable of doing things, but their leadership is really what has taken ideas and nuances and made what happened this morning happen. So I'd like to give those guys a big shout out.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I was just honored to be there for the
Yeah.
groundbreaking today.
That was pretty cool.
It's literally history in the making.
Yeah.
It was.
And so now we're in...
And
tell
to
her-
know that some of these conversations started on the porch.
Yes, they did.
OG member of the Porch Caucus.
That's right. Yeah. Man, we're blessed.
Yeah.
We are really
We are.
blessed. When we got elected, we never thought that we were going to get put in with a group of guys and men and women that we're forming lifelong friendships with. And, I will say that's one of the first things Tommy Pope said to us in
Yes.
freshman orientation. He said, folks, y'all have been blessed and don't look too lightly on this, but you are serving the people of York County, talking about us, but you will be blessed with lifelong relationships
Yeah.
in this place. And I count myself blessed to that. And I know all y'all and
I think all members of the Porch Caucus, even the newer ones that we sometimes leave out,
yeah, man. I mean, it's
those
as
relationships are formed.
Close, it's as
Oh,
close to family,
100%. 100%.
And so, but yeah, thank y'all for not just being friends, brothers, but thanks for the hard work on the individual passions and the projects, legislation that y'all do. Thank y'all. Love doing
Mr.
this.
Chairman trying to give us shout outs.
Love doing this with y'all, and but before we do get out of here, we are now in the fundraising stage
Yes.
for the Robert Smalls statue there on the State House grounds. Tell our two listeners how they can help.
South Carolina Department of Admin /RobertSmalls.gov. Go Google
South Carolina Robert Smalls statue.
yes, Google that
Yep.
and the commission.
We're
and
definitely have to work on that website.
It'll take you to the donation link.
Maybe we can put a link to it on our website.
100%.
That'd be
And what
great.
are we trying to raise? $2 million?
I'd like 2.5.
Okay.
When we got the original quote for this, it was going to be a little bit less than that, but things go up in cost, and so I don't.
Right.
We are not going to. This is going to be solid. 300 years worth. This is going to be a
Timeless.
top-notch, timeless monument to
Yep.
Robert Smalls.
I think it's only right that we end this segment. We need to invite Brian Lawson, if he can hear us, to come on in.
Hey, Brian Lawson.
And we need to invite David Martin
Yeah.
to come on over. And I think the Porch Caucus needs to have a nice
You're going to need a
toast.
beer, Brian Lawson.
Get a
To
beer,
end.
Brian.
All right, so I think it's only fitting that we end this year. We have a freshman member of the Porch Caucus. We have the OG Porch Caucus here. And I just want to say it's been wonderful to serve with you, Ben. Another session. I look forward to what the future brings.
100%.
And
Here, here.
cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
All right. All right. That concludes this episode, man.
Man, we got to thank USC.
100%.
USC and the Bev Lab is what we call it for short.
That's right.
But go ahead and give us that full name.
So yeah, thanks to the University of South Carolina. Thanks for hosting this. This has been a great, wonderful partnership. Great tradition now that we do every year, and especially thankful to Scott, thankful to Catherine, Craig, Derek, the whole team.
We got to
Matt.
say Dillip too.
Yep, Dillip.
Hey, Dillip.
Dillip, Brock Hillian,
Yeah.
and also to the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management. Great facilities you got here. Great studies that you got going on, and appreciate the hospitality for sure.
All right, Lawson, you got to do a Spurs up with me. It's the only way to end it. Come on.
All right. See you next time.
Pints in my hand, politics on my mind. We ride above it, toasting to the grind. Cold beer flowing while the world's on fire. Debate getting deep, but the vibes get higher. Pints in politics, we ride above it. Real talk only, we ride above it. Laughing through the chaos, never below it. Pints in politics, yeah, we ride above it. Sip after sip, flip the script on the news. Left wing, right wing, we just like the fuse. From the bar stool, throwing them, dropping knowledge bombs. Hop in the phone, turn debates to songs. They talking red and blue, we mixing black and tan. True serum in the Guinness, watch the realness span. No filter, no chaser, just straight facts with the flavor. Every on dripping hops. Every bar I spit heavier than a federal tax drop. They cancel culture tripping, we just canceled around. Another pint hits different when the truth comes out.